The NFL season is finally here, but don't worry, there is still time to sneak in a few trades in your Dynasty leagues before everything kicks off to make sure you're positioned to bring home the title this year. We're going to dive straight in at the top. As you can see, Trevor Lawrence. I've been talking about him all off season. His value is absolutely ludicrous right now. He's being valued in that third, if not some fourth tier of quarterbacks. This is a guy who's had one of the worst situations around him over the past few years. Last year, they were second in most screen attempts, yet he was last in EPA added on the screen attempts. It's woeful. The offensive line was bad. The running game was inefficient. This is a guy that was QB7 in 2022 and is still only 24 years old. Still not a phenomenal situation, but I think what they've added is going to bring so much to this offense and allow Trevor Lawrence to really produce. Gabe Davis, okay, he may not be phenomenal for fantasy, but he is a great prototypical X receiver that is going to line up, do all the dirty work. He's going to block. He's going to run those deep routes, and he's going to get a job done. And then Brian Thomas is just an absolute X factor. He could be anything in this offense. He can take the top off. We know that he can bully smaller corners. And it's going to create space for Christian Kirk to run down those seams, for Evan Ingram to work underneath, and hopefully allow this run game to be more efficient. Trevor Lawrence, I'm expecting to take a big step as a passer. He's been so unlucky the last couple of years. That can't continue. I think we're going to see a step forward and him elevate himself into that elite tier. Right now, as you can see on screen, his current price is 2 2025 first. I would happily pay up to 3. I don't think you need to pay that. Maybe you can make a move from, one of the sexier names. Can you go and get Anthony Richardson or Jaden Daniels and get Trevor Lawrence plus? Like that's wild to me. I would take Trevor Lawrence straight up over those guys every day of the week and twice on Sunday. I think you can get an asset on top of them right now. So love Trevor Lawrence as a buy, and I do think you need to go and move now, because I think as soon as this offense is up and firing, I think the way it's looking in preseason and the way we're talking about Brian Thomas Jr., this offense could take a leap and Trevor Lawrence could elevate himself into that. Maybe not first tier of quarterbacks, but definitely in that second tier. It's time to get negative now. DeAndre Swift. I just can't get on board with the price. He's getting around late first. You can get him for kind of 2 20-25 seconds. For me, I don't really love the talent. I think he's a good open field runner, but he doesn't really add much between the tackles. He's now on his third team in as many seasons. I think that this offense, whilst it could be good, maybe we're overhyping it a bit. I'm not sure we should be too excited about rookie quarterbacks leading that side of things. And also, he's going to have significant volume. We know that there's a plethora of options in the receiving game, but Khalil Herbert's not going anywhere. Roshan Johnson's going to mix in. A 3-headed backfield is just a headache for fantasy. This guy's not got the track record. He's never finished above RB15. And I keep hearing people talk about the contract. Okay, he signed a long-term contract. He was paid by the Bears. The Bears needed to go out and spend money. If you didn't know, there is an NFL rule. You have to spend at least 89% of your salary cap in a 4-year cycle. The Bears were woefully behind that. They needed to go out this offseason and spend significant money to hit that 89% floor. That's why they went out and paid Cole Kmet. That's why they went out and paid DeAndre Swift. They wanted to add weapons around their rookie quarterback. Well, there's no elite wide receivers. There's no elite offensive linemen they can go and pay. So they felt the best way to do it was to go and pay a running back. I don't think DeAndre Swift is going to be anything more than maybe an RB2, but I think he's going to be in that flex range. And paying 2 20-25 seconds, that feels rich. I'd happily sell for a second. I think you can get more than that. I think if you could get 2 seconds, that's a great deal. Maybe you pivot to another player, maybe get an asset on top. But look, for me, DeAndre Swift, a definite fade, and I think where his value is, I'd be looking to sell him right now. Josh Downs, it feels like a month and a half ago, Josh Downs was so hyped and everyone wanted a piece of Josh Downs. And all of a sudden, one high ankle sprain, everybody's just completely forgotten about him. Yes, high ankle sprains are nasty. We see them linger. We see them massively impact fantasy production. But this is a guy who's had 6 weeks now to recover, to rehab that properly. It's not like we're in season and he's trying to rush back. I think the Colts are going to play it smart with him. Hopefully, if I'm being honest, he maybe sits out week 1, week 2, and we get him fully healthy before he comes back. But this guy was Anthony Richardson's best friend. He was the number 1 target during the start of camp before he got the injury. We know that he's an elite route runner, elite separator, reception perception, 82.5% success rate versus man. That is amongst the elite at the position. This guy is going to feast out of that slot. He is going to destroy nickel corners consistently, and you can get him for a 20-25 second right now. I'd pay a bit more. I'd potentially go up to 2 seconds if I was getting maybe a third back or a second and a third. I think Josh Downs, look, nobody's thinking about him right now. They can't put him in their IR slot. They can't put him in their starting lineup. Now's the time to go and sweep on Josh Downs because I think he could be due for a huge breakout season. And the final negative guy, look, Jameson Williams. Okay, people are hyping up. It feels like Dan Campbell is trying to talk about him every single second he can, but I'm just not buying into a guy who's done nothing through his first 2 years, 1.11, 1.3 yards per route run. If he was going to flash, if he was going to produce what he's being talked about, I'd want to see him at least putting up some production in small sample sizes. That's the easiest. If you're going to be a deep threat, we saw it with Marvin Mims last year. He was used so sparingly that his yards per route numbers were absolutely wild. So now is the time that I'm looking to sell because I just don't think the ceiling's there. Even a best case scenario for Jameson Williams, he's going to be a boom bust player that in that Deshaun Jackson mode where he goes off on your bench, you put him in your starting lineup, he does nothing. There's just not the volume. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, and these running backs, we know that's where the volume's going to go in Detroit. And I just think Jameson Williams, I didn't particularly like him as a player prospect coming out. I was much lower than consensus on him. A guy that's done nothing through 2 years in the NFL. I'm not expecting him to suddenly break out in a challenging situation where there are other options that are going to feast. And we know that Amon-Ra St. Brown and Sam Laporta are both going to command probably 120 plus targets. I'd sell for a third. I don't think you need to sell that. We can go on the screen there. His current price is 20-25 second. I think, maybe you can get 2/3. If you can get a second, I'd snatch someone's hand off because I think it's a great move to be making right now. Do you disagree with the 4 players I've listed? If you do, let us know in the comments below. And of course, whilst you're there, hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be back every single week giving you 4 players to buy and sell in Dynasty. You hit that subscribe button, you'll get notified about them as soon as they are released.